If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know firsthand how sexually uninhibited they are. You know the vast majority of them will do any and everything in the bedroom. All right. I have helped hundreds of people and talked to hundreds of people when it comes to this topic. I've even had, experience with a couple people with narcissistic traits in my BC days. And I will tell you, I can attest to the fact that their aim is to blow your mind. Keep in mind, now this is the vast majority, all right? I'm not saying this is an absolute. I'm talking about the vast majority, especially from the survivors that I've talked to for a few years. And it certainly is not uncommon for them to be with the same gender, all right, as well. We've seen a pattern of that when it comes to talking to hundreds of people, and they're always living a double life. But I'm saying all this to say, to keep in mind that when a narcissist is getting to know you, when you're dating, whatever you want to call it, they have a goal. They have a goal you don't know about. All right. And this is why sometimes you can look at them, or after an argument or something, they can look at you and give you a smirk, a look. It's almost as if they know something that you don't know. And that's because they do. They know that they have a plan, right? Even before the mask fell off, you might have looked at them at times. And even after the mask fell off and y'all have conflict and stuff, you can look at them at certain times and like, wow, it's kind of a spooky. It's like they know something you don't. It's because they do. They know that they're not in it to build a connection with you. They know when they have sex with you, when they have encounters with you, intercourse with you, that's not a building block toward a great relationship. That's not a building block to bond together and a starting point of having the family. For those of you who practice premarital sex, most empathic, good-hearted people, you involve that in your relationships to bond with the person, and I wouldn't put it like, okay, you're test driving the person, but it's just what most people do. I'm not going to lie. Even before I was married, I'm not anymore, but even when before I was still a Christian, and there were times where I fell short and I fornicated. All right. So I was not a virgin when I got married, and that marriage didn't work out. But what I'm saying all that to say is I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bridge or be holier than thou. In my BC days, I have participated in fornication. And the reason why that's so important to talk about is because if you're dealing with a narcissist, fornication is going to have to be necessary. It is. They're not going to deal with you long without premarital sex, because premarital sex is probably, their one or two main weapon for getting you trauma bonded, especially if you're a woman, because you already have hormones that release in you when you're having intercourse with someone to pair bond with that person. You have more oxytocin than a man has, and, because a man, he could be with 25 people and none of them meant anything to him. But women, if don't have a high body count and your ability to pair bond hasn't been disturbed or impeded on, that's a way that you kind of bond with people. That's a way that's real intimacy, and even though I fell short historically when it comes to premarital sex, because I believe waiting is the best way, but Can't turn back the hands of time. But in retrospect, you can always look back and say, wow, God knew what he was talking about. Love was talking to me and telling me to do this because of love. Um, God is not trying to get us away from a good time. He's trying to get a good time to us. So when he's giving us instructions, that's love talking. All right. But neither here nor there. I think I made it plain that I'm not trying to be holier than thou. But I don't think a relationship, I don't think you can get trauma bonded to a narcissist without having premarital sex. Now, before anybody says anything, I know you can be trauma bonded without sex being involved in other relationships. You know, you could be traumatized by a relative, a parent. You could be traumatized by a friend, close relationship with a friend. But I have not seen anybody get traumatized and trauma bonded to a narcissist unless they had premarital sex with them. This is very important for a narcissist to do. This is why they move so fast in the idolation phase. And, you know, when it comes to women, you are way more vulnerable and susceptible to being trauma bonded to them just because of the amount of oxytocin that's releasing, you know, when you have encounters with them. Not to mention how more emotional, you know, you guys are. So just saying all that to say, the bottom line is don't lose perspective about what a narcissist's goal is. Their goal is to traumatize you, is to trauma bond you. Whether they can explain it or not, they know they want to take you high as possible. They want to take you high as possible. And what they know that you don't is that eventually they're going to drop you low. Big dopamine spikes, and then drop you into cortisone hormone, dopamine hormone, cortisol hormone. Those type of hormonal fluctuations, not to mention women, how you pair bond with someone, you know, when intercourse happens, these type of things causes trauma bonds. It negatively impacts your nervous system, you know, and just a regular breakup would make it hard to detach from somebody. But this is not a regular breakup. All right. This person has studied you. They have future faked. They have convinced you that they loved you. These are all the things that they did and that you experienced before the mask fell off and they started devaluing you. All right. They're not going to start the devaluation phase until they know they have you on the hook, until they know that you ain't going nowhere, until they know they have you addicted. You know, and when it comes to alcohol abuse or drug abuse, they would call that addiction. When you still want something and going after something that you know is not good for you and is not healthy for you, you know. In psychology, we would call it a trauma bond. You know it's not good for you. You know it doesn't love you. You know it doesn't like you. And it's hard to let go. It's hard to stop investing in that. It's hard to stop giving it your energy. But that's when you have to understand that your energy is sacred. Your attention is sacred. Your presence is a privilege. You know, when we reclaim your power and you become powerful again, you'll realize, wow, and you'll see clearer. I'm saying all that to say is the narcissist's aim is to get you trauma bonded. Whether they explain it that way or not, they know what it takes to get you crying over them. They know what it takes to get you addicted to them, to get you to start going wild and crazy and screaming and hollering and all that stuff. That's called reactionary abuse. They know how to get you that way. Somebody who has to go through all this manipulation to have that type of impact on somebody, they must be feel bad inside. That's not somebody with big self-esteem and, uh, you know, big self-worth. For somebody to have to do those type of things to a person to feel good about themselves, that gives you everything you need right there. All right. And, but yeah, so when one of the ways I would say to protect yourself against being trauma bonded to a narcissist is to not have premarital sex. That's, to me, that's the only way to guarantee that you don't get trauma bonded to them. Because if you have that type of boundary, a narcissist is not going to stick around. They are not going to foster a relationship with you and do what it takes to keep it going without premarital sex. That's how important it is for them to have that with you. And this is why they're so uninhibited in the bedroom. It's not because they're just freaks. No, they're uninhibited in the bedroom and will do anything, is because they are trying to get you on the hook. They're trying to addict you to themselves. They're trying to blow your mind. And if you've been with a narcissist, you're probably trauma bonded. But the good news is, I know how to break it.